Hey, I'm Chili. This is lesson 16 of the intermediate programming tutorial series. Continuing on with the platformer, and it's time to jump around, jump up, and get down. Because I don't want to do collision. It's hard and it makes my head hurt. I'm going to explain that shit later. Today we're going to do collision. No. Jumping. Fuck collision. Fuck it hard. Okay, so I guess I should probably talk about the mechanics of jumping and, free bodies and stuff just a little bit. A very, very basic introduction to ballistic motion. So let me add a layer here. Alright, so you've got ground, and let's say your start position is somewhere around here, right? That's your start. You jump from here, you launch yourself in the air. You're probably going to travel in an arc like this. This is the basic body in free fall here. So, yeah. How to go about explaining this? Well, let's say you've got an object and it's running. It's got a certain velocity. We'll call that Vx, right? When it hits this point, it's going to jump. And we're going to assume here that jumping will give it an acceleration or an impulse in the y direction. So at this point here, we're going to create a little vector graph here at the bottom. I forget what you call these things. Maybe it's like a tensor or something. I don't know. Fuck it. It's a vector thing. Here's your velocity at this point here. Now, right after you jump, your velocity is going to look like this. You're going to have, let's say, a pretty big Vy, and you're going to have your same Vx that you had when you were running. Right, you keep that. We're assuming no wind resistance here, so your Vx is not going to be slowed down by wind or anything. So at this point here, this is your velocity. You've got like a pretty big Vy, and so you're moving up. You're moving up at a pretty good clip. Now when you hit this point here, your Vy, your Vx is still the same, but your Vy is a lot smaller. Why? Because as you're in the air, gravity acceleration, let me just so here is our acceleration y. This is due to gravity. Gravity is always trying to accelerate us downward. The only reason we don't go downward is because the ground is in the way. The ground provides a reaction force which counters the force of gravity. But once we leave the ground, accelerator is going to start accelerating. Gravity. Accelerate. I just made a new word. Acceleration due to gravity. Accelerate. Sounds delicious. Anyways. Yeah, gravity is going to try to accelerate us downwards. So, we start off with a big Vy. And as we move, the acceleration due to gravity is slowly going to reduce our Vy. And when we hit the peak of our trajectory here, we're going to have no Vy, right? We're not moving. If you look at the graph, it's easy to see that you're not in this point here. You're not moving in the y direction at all. You're just moving horizontally, pure horizontal motion up here. And just get my red back. Let me get my red on, because acceleration due to gravity is the same at all points. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Independent of the mass of the object or of the speed at which the object is traveling. It's always the same. Of course, that depends on, if you go really far from the Earth, obviously it's going to get smaller and bullshit like that. But in general, on the Earth, in situations we're going to have in a game, it's the same everywhere. Now, as you progress here, gravity doesn't just stop once you get to 0. It keeps going. It's now pulling you down. So your x is the same, but your y now has a downwards. And when you strike the Earth here, you're going to have a velocity here. And the velocity is going to be exactly the opposite of when you left, right? So if you left at, let's say, 10 meters per second, you're going to land at 10 meters per second. And so forth. So that is basically the way that ballistic movement works in jumping and so forth. As far as making a game engine, all you got to do is when you want your character to jump, give them some a Vy, a y velocity, and every frame you want to add to Vy an acceleration, which is probably going to be in the opposite direction. The acceleration is going to be in the down direction, whereas your initial Vy is in the up direction. And then every frame you update your position based on Vy and Vx, and you update your Vy based on your acceleration due to gravity, and you're going to get an arc of motion like this. It's quite simple. So let's do that in code. I feel like there was lots of other stuff I wanted to explain, but kind of got all sidetracked and shit, which happens when you don't like write a script or anything. You just fucking one-shot that shit. So we're going to need a new state, right? We got a running state. We got a standing state. Let's do a jumping state. Because why not? That's how we do. Now I could add new item and add the C++ file and whatever. I'm going to try to add class. I'm going to see if this is easier because I haven't done this in a while. Okay, I'm back. I had to cut out a bit there because I went off on a tangent trying to figure out a way to wrangle the IDE into defaulting to the assets folder. I wanted to change the settings of the project or something so that it always defaulted to the assets folder. And you can't do that apparently. According to the internet, that is just not a thing you can do. So you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you, Visual Studio. And fuck me for making that folder. Let's continue. What am I doing here? I am going to make a new class here. We'll call it player jumping. And we're just going to go to player running here. I'm going to copy that. Paste that into player jumping. And now we go jumping. And we'll put jumping in here. And that should settle that score. Now, what's the next thing? Actually, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Ah, fuck it. We'll just keep going on here. We're going to go to sprite state. Give me back my class view here. Sprite state, good. And let's add a new on control jump. So this will give us our jump control event. And I think that's all we need to change here for now. Let's go back to player jumping. Now, we're going to go through a few iterations of jumping mechanics. We're going to kind of evolve it as we go. But for the beginning of our jumping mechanics, we're going to go with the purely ballistic method here, which is once you're off the ground, you can't influence your trajectory in any way. Just like in normal ballistics, right? Because if you're off the ground, you can't push off of anything anymore. You can't get a reaction. Unless you've got like aerodynamic control surfaces, you're not changing anything. And of course, we're ignoring wind resistance here, so that doesn't matter. So our player jumping state here is volume level's a little high. I'm going to adjust my microphone. The player jumping here is not going to respond to direction presses. It doesn't, it will have none of that. But, actually it's not going to respond to anything. Once you're in the fucking air, you are in the air. But what I am going to do is, I lied when I said that that was the only event we are adding. We're going to add another one. It's a non-control event. Virtual void on collision. We're going to add a very simple collision event. Now this collision is a very limited, and right now it's going to be very limited to the case of us hitting the ground. It doesn't care about walls. So what this collision event means is that we hit the ground. Alright, so let us pray, my son. No, let's not do that. Let's navigate backward. No, back more. There we go. So in the jumping, we're going to handle the virtual void on collision. And we're also going to handle update, of course. Now, in our, let's think here. So let's start off by allowing the player only to jump when they're standing. So no running jumps. I like to do things incrementally here. So that means that in the player's standing state, we're going to have to handle virtual void on control jump. We're going to need to handle this shit. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. So how are we going to handle it? Well, first we're going to need to get that input from the keyboard. So let us go to Sprite Controller, and we'll hit the pole. We'll hit the pole. VK right, VK left, and jump will be our good old friend space, because that's the one I use usually. VK space, and we're not going to worry about press and release at the moment. So let's just, well, we'll put the framework in here, because we will be handling it later. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go on control jump if it's a press, and if it's a release, do nothing. So that should handle the keyboard input. Sprite.get straight to on control jump. Now let's go to player standing. Let's go to this file here, and we'll go void player standing on control jump. So what's going to happen when we jump? Well, we're obviously going to transition to a new, oh, we're going to need this up here. # include player jumping. And here we're going to have a new player jumping. We need the core, obviously. Alright, so we just transitioned to the player jumping state, and that is that. For now. For now, my friends, that is that. So, player jumping. So how do we handle this? Well, let's add project, add new item. Make sure we're in assets, C++, player jumping. So we'll add this noise in here and include player jumping.h. So let's handle some events. Void player jumping on update. So this is an important one, obviously. So to update, we're going to need to do two things. We're going to need to update the position, and then we're going to have to update the velocity. Now, you could do them in either order, and they would have certain repercussions. I'm going to do it in the order where first we update the velocity, or the position, and then afterwards we update the velocity. So it's in its first frame of motion, it's going to move at the velocity that it was initially given, and then the velocity will be accelerated or decelerated if you prefer. So we're going to need some variables. Let us get variate. Protected. So what variables are we going to need? Well, we're definitely going to need the velocity, right? So that's a float Vx. We're also going to need, that should be Vy, right? We're also going to need Vx, which is the velocity in the x direction, but that is going to be const for now, because x velocity doesn't change. There's nothing working on it. There's no gravity in the x direction, only in the y direction. So x is constant. And we're going to need acceleration y. That's what we want. Acceleration due to gravity. Also constant. It doesn't change over the course of our trajectory. Now, one thing I want to change here, I don't like the term Vx for our x velocity value, and I'm going to tell you why. Very simple. Velocity, velocity is a vector. It has magnitude and direction. So these two velocities, although they're traveling at the same speed, they're going in opposite directions. So in a one-dimensional system, like for example in the x direction, velocity as a vector can be determined with sign, whereas negative means pointing this way, positive means pointing this way. It's like on your number line, right? However, in our system here, we have our direction, direction class, right? Bidirection. And bidirection transforms a speed scalar, or just a speed value with no direction, into a velocity, which is a speed with direction. So before we do our transform, we do not have a velocity, we only have a speed. And it's important to make that distinction because you have to know what things you have to transform and what you don't. Vy does not require transformation, right? It remembers its own direction and its magnitude. But Sx is only magnitude. Direction is determined by a separate object, the bidirection object, which will, what's the thing it does? Transform? Yeah, transforms a speed into a velocity. Important to make that distinction because you can fuck yourself up later. So we've got our velocity in the y, speed in the x, and acceleration in the y. Let us, now because we make these constant, that means that they have to be initialized in the constructor, in the initializer list. So player jumping. So when we construct a player jumping, we're going to need the core, but we're also going to need float sx, speed. And then when we initialize, we're going to do sx, and ax is going to not be dependent. It's not going to change for different calls. It's always going to be the value that we determine it to be. So I have no idea what value would be good. I'm going to say positive 5f. Normally we would say negative acceleration for gravity. However, if you recall, in our computer screens, y increases going down, right? So down is the positive direction for y. Therefore, we want our acceleration to be down, positive, not negative. That's the one thing that often trips me up when I'm programming in graphics, is I'll forget that I'm on computer space for a second, and I'll make my down stuff negative, and it'll fuck me up later. So ax is 5 ay. I always want to make it an x. I just love x for the variable. Can't get enough of that x. Okay, so now we got our variables all set up. Let's go back. Let's go to player jumping here, and let's go back to on update. Now we're ready to write our updating code. So what we should do is we should do core.x plus and equals core.dir.transform sx. Core.y plus an fuck you, and here we want vy. Again, no need to transform. Transforming a y value would make no difference because our bidirection only works in the horizontal. So you couldn't if you wanted to. If you did, it would be dumb. It'd be super dumb. Okay, so now that's our position taken care of. Now let's update our velocity. Vy plus and equals ay. And we're done. That should be enough for updating. Let me take a quick look at running to make sure I didn't forget anything. Player running on update, right. We don't have to advance because our animation is not an animation. It's just a single frame. So we could advance. It wouldn't do anything. Just a little bit of wasted processing. Not much. Just a little. But while I'm here, let's revamp player running just a little bit. We're going to change this hard-coded value in the implementation from 3 to sx, which is the speed x, right? And in player running's definition file here, we're going to go protected constant float sx, and in here we're going to code sx to be 3. There. So I'm just getting rid of that hard-coded value in the implementation, moving it into a constant variable. Makes your code more readable. Not a biggie, but I wanted to do it, and I did it. Can't stop me. Won't stop me. Let's get on with it. Okay, so now we have our update for player jumping. Let us do the other, which is void on collision. Now, when we collide with the ground, in general, what happens is, here's the general, I said we weren't going to do collision, but we're going to do a teensy-weensy bit of collision. Generally, what happens in a game system is you have, let's say you've got frame 0 here. And in frame 0, your character is moving with a certain x and a certain y velocity, okay? So this is frame 0. Then next frame, you update the player's position, and they're now like this. This is the ground, and they're now like basically asshole deep in the ground. And that's not a good thing. So you say, okay, first of all, you do a test, and you say, okay, you are, balls deep into this ground. And then you've got to deal with it. You can't just say, okay, stop moving now, because if you stop here, you're going to be stuck in the ground and it's going to look stupid. So what you've got to do is once you've detected this condition of, being balls deep, you got to say, okay, we in there, we got to get out. And so you've got to readjust the position of the character so that there's somewhere that is, not stupid. The best way of doing that is saying, okay, you're this deep into the surface, so just move back up here. That's the easiest way of doing it. The better way of doing it is taking a look at the trajectory of the character, saying, okay, you are this deep, rewind it until you are out of it. So it looks like you just hit the ground. It's more complicated, but it can work better. It can work gooder if you like. It can work more gooder. So, we're going to do the easy way, which is, okay, your ball's deep in here. We're just going to push you out until you're not into it anymore. You got to get out of there. All right, so in order to do that, we've got to know basically how deep you're in there. And it's a whole like fucking clusterfuck of bullshit. But for our situation, something external to the sprite, something in the probably in the game or in that area, is going to check whether the sprite is below the y is. Anyways, when the y value is above a certain value, meaning you're lower on the screen, trigger this on collision, and the value that's going to be passed is the y value that you should be at. We're going to make it simple. So that value is going to be, I don't know, constant float floor y. The y value of the floor, which is the value that you have to adjust yourself to. So on collision, now this is not the way we're going to do collision later on. It's going to be way more gooder. And of course, hell of a lot more complicated. But for now, it's just what we're gonna do. I'm easing you guys into this, warming you up, a little bit of foreplay. You can't skip the foreplay. I mean, come on, we're not animals here, are we? Where is my thing? My ding-a-ling. I guess I wanted to go here. Problem is, I just start clicking on stuff before I even thought about where I'm going, and that causes me to meander. Okay, so we've just redefined on collision. How do you like it? Oh, you don't like it at all. You don't like it? You don't like my collision? Player jumping. Let's also add it here. Now we're all happy. I'm one happy pappy. There we go. Okay, so on collision, some external agent has determined that we're colliding, and it is telling us that we got to adjust our y to this value. And so we say, yes sir, core.y is equal to floor y. And we say, we're going to make this simple. When you collide with the ground, you just enter the player's standing state, which is transition. Too many trans words. Too many trannies. Nah, I'm lying. You can never have too many trannies. Player standing core. Bam. Okay, yeah, you don't know about that. Fair enough. I'm gonna tell you all about it. Come here, sit on Chili's knee, and get schooled about player standing. Alright, so this should handle when we're in the air and when we hit the ground. Now, did I do... Yeah, I did player jumping. Did I? Did I do player jumping? Did I really? Go to player standing here. On control jump. Transition to player jumping. Okay, so I changed player jumping, right? I needed a parameter to determine the x velocity or the x speed at the time we leave the ground. When you're jumping and you're standing, your x velocity is always going to be 0. You're not moving in horizontal, only vertical. So this can be hard-coded to 0 with very little percussions, I believe. I believe that is something that I can live with. Let's build so far. Let's see how bad we fucked it up. And if not, we can implement this bullshit into on update does not take 0 arguments. That is a lie. On update takes exactly 0 arguments, you bastard. Why? Did I do it wrong? Why have I angered you? Okay, player, let's go to sprite state. On update. Okay, so I obviously put in the wrong spot. That was a problem. I'm sure you guys all caught that when you were watching, right? Why didn't you tell me? Gotta speak up. It's like when you're in the classroom and the teacher obviously fucked something up on the chalkboard and no one says anything. They're just whispering to each other. And then the teacher has a nervous breakdown. Elementary school. Okay. So far so good, except let's see what happens when we try this mother. We jump. We disappeared. Okay, that was a problem. But I think I know what the problem was. Well, I have an idea. First of all, we didn't, and when we say we, I mean I'm not going to blame you guys for this one. There's lots of things I didn't do. One of them was I didn't give jumping its own animation, which may or may not have caused the downfall of society. So, this one is going to be animation sequence number 2. Now we have to go to player sprite, where we set all this bullshit up, and we got to go, first of all, we need 3 sequences now, not 2. And we need core.seeks at 2 equal to new by surface. Why am I doing this? Why am I not copying? We got stand here. These numbers. Numbers. They'll be the downfall of me. Stick jump. I don't think capitalization matters, but I'm gonna correct it anyways here. Stick jump. So this is fine, except that these offsets for the base coordinate of in the sprite is they're not going to be right. Now I could fuck around and try to get the right values, but the better thing to do, and the thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to open up my my little test thing here where I kind of tested out all these concepts that I'm showing you, and I'm going to steal the values from in here because I already figured them all out and they're good. I just got to remember where I put all this bullshit. Probably in player sprite or factory. Just pretend like you're not seeing this stuff. You didn't see any of this. Sprite factory, what is that? It sounds complicated. That's a poo. I clicked on poo factory. I want player factory. Yeah, that's it. Okay, stick, jump. Here's the numbers. Here's the good, delicious numbers. I think I doubled one. Alright, so that's that. And you didn't see any of that other shit. Yeah. So that is the animation, or the non-animation, because it's not animated. It's a non-animation. It's probably still going to disappear, though, because I don't know, I just get the feeling like it's going to do that. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it disappeared. Well, looks like I'm going to have to go to my old friend, Mr. fucking Debugger. Let's try triggering it on update. We'll see what happens in update, and then after that we'll follow it to the other stuff. I guess. I don't know. I'm just chilling out here. Okay, so we press the space bar. We hit the update. Core X is at 100. That seems right. SX is at 0. That seems right. Direction is right. That's right. No pun intended. Where's our core.y? 575. So everything is nominal. I don't know, bruh. Let's keep going. So we step over this. Core X doesn't change. Y becomes a fucking crazy number because I totally fucked something up. Obviously, that is not the number that we want. Negative, like, 400 million? Negative 400 million is pretty big. It's pretty far up the screen. Yeah. Basically, our player just flew up into orbit and beyond. So that was bad. Obviously, VY is bad value. That's a bad touch. Where's VY? Yeah, that's a bad value. So that was pretty easy. Let's change it. Let's go to player jumping. And VY, which I forgot to initialize, which was really stupid. You are stupid. We're going to say it's negative because it's in the up direction. Negative 5. And no, that's dumb. Negative 15. It's got to be a pretty big number. Our acceleration due to gravity is really high. It's too high. That's like 1 pixel per second, 5 pixels per second not per second, per frame. It's too fast. I'm going to try 1. And I'm going to set this one to 10. And see how high he jumps. Okay, let's try this again. I am sorry for that little foray into forgetting shit. But hey, everyone likes to practice the debugger. Okay, chain. Well, yeah. I guess I could use a parenthesis there. It wouldn't hurt. I am not completely opposed to it. Okay, let's try this again. Whee! And we fell to the ground. Stop that. Because we haven't triggered the on collision, we just keep falling into the center of the earth. But The motion looked pretty good, didn't it? He started off pretty quick and then he slowed down. I liked it. I feel like the acceleration is a little high. I want to bring this to like maybe 0.085. And maybe I want to give him a little bit more juice. Let's try that. Whee! That was a little better. Yeah, we'll leave it like this for now. And, yeah. So what is the deal with airline peanuts? No. What's the thing we got to do now is game, go, let us handle the collision here. We'll just do it right in the game go thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to do, well, bullshit. In order to do the collision, we have to know the Y and the X. So, actually, we only need to know the Y. So let's add a little function here just for fun. We'll call this function. This is just a little temporary thing. I'm not sure if this will stay, but for now we're gonna let the outside world access our Y position. Just the Y one. Get Y const return core dot Y. Just for now. Just for now, everybody. I am loath to expose anything to the outside world. As should we all. Okay. So, if player dot... are you going to pull this bullshit on me again? Really? Really? Listen, I know that it exists. If get Y is greater than 575.0f, p dot get state dot on collision .575.0f. Okay. I don't understand why it doesn't like my bullshit. Get Y. Get Y. Oh, I know why. Okay, never mind. Well, that makes perfect sense. I put it in sprite state instead of in sprite. Sprite. I could have done it in sprite state too. I could have just used the get. You fucking. Oh, you. I'm just. Rage levels are building here, people. Get Y. Const. I have a nervous breakdown of my own. Return core dot Y. Now, do you like me? I gotta have my nice little comment here. Just for now, motherfuckers. Okay. Let's build this mother. That worked. Now the moment of truth. Are we gonna fall to the bottom of the earth, or are we going to persevere? Yep, persevering looks like it's a thing. Yay, yay! But we can't jump when we're running because we haven't implemented that thing yet. So let's do that now, because I like it. I like it a lot. These videos, they take too long. I'm thinking about maybe after this series just like stopping me typing everything and just typing it out ahead of time and then just talking about it later. So that might be a good thing. But for now, you guys have to put up with my derpitude. And it is awesome. My derpitude knows no bounds. Okay, so we have player standing, and it was good. Now we're going to do player running, and we're going to handle our virtual void on control jump. Booyah. Let's do it. Let's do it. So, void player running on control jump and transition new player. You don't know about player jumping, don't you? Motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. Okay, player jumping core and SX. And that should be it. That should be the only thing we need to do to be able to jump from the running state. And we'll have our same horizontal velocity that we had when we were running. Boing. Now, there's a problem here. And that problem is we're running, we press the jump, we jump, and then we just stop. Because we entered the player standing state. And yeah, so from the player standing state, we need to press running again in order to start running. Now that is definitely a buzzkill. You don't want that, because that's just, look at that. That is horrible. So, actually my throat is a little sore right now. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to save it to my hard drive. And I'm going to come back in like 5 minutes, and we are going to continue on refining our jumping now that we've gotten the basics of it fleshed out or sketched out.